Hey everyone, welcome to Be the Change. My name is Lily Mott, and today's episode is about how change comes when you just write something down. My guest today is Lubelihle Audrey Mazithulela, and she is the club president and founder of Girl Up Bulawayo, which is based in Zimbabwe. It was so great to learn about all of Lubeli's work, and I'm really excited to share this conversation with you. So without further ado, let's get started with this episode featuring Lubelihle Audrey Mazithulela.
So my full names are Lubelihle Audrey Mazithulela. I come from Bulawayo in Zimbabwe. So currently I'm the club president for Girl Up Bulawayo, which is a fairly new club. I wouldn't say it's a new club, but like we started getting active in 2022. So it's like 2 years this year. Yeah. So we've been really busy. I'm sure you've been seeing some things over Instagram and all that. Yeah. So our main areas for concern are on mental health, sexual reproductive health rights, GBV, yeah, and all those other things. So we're quite like all over the place, but we're trying to actually get to something where we're like, okay, this is what we're focusing on. Because in as much as you can be interested in all these other things, there's only like one area you can like specialize on, and then yeah, progress from there. Yeah.
That is so exciting, and that is a great way to get started. So, as you mentioned, you started the club in 2022, and I would love to just know more about what inspired you to get started with your activism work, and then, of course, what inspired you to start the club.
Okay, so it's a funny story. Well, it's just to me. So what happened? I finished law school in 2020. Yes. So I studied in South Africa. So now the idea was to like go back home, right? Because I was done with my studying and all of that. Okay, cool. So after law school, then I had a group of friends. So we're talking. We'd say, okay, what happens now, guys? So people are like, okay, let's go for the bar exam. All those things like progressing career-wise. Yo, in my head, I was like, yo, it's been school since what? Grade one, grade two, high school, varsity, bar exam now. It's all about me. Like, yo, I'm so tired. But I was just saying it within myself, right? So I felt so empty. So the reason why I got so motivated to start this kind of work is the emptiness I felt within myself. I was like, you know what? I don't have the millions to help, but I'm going back home. What am I going back home with? So I was really troubled. So I got home. I wrote something down. I was just writing stuff, Lily. I don't know what to tell you right now. I was just writing, it's okay. Now I'm back home. I'm graduated. I'm happy, but I feel so empty. I want to help girls. I just want to help girls. So I started writing. I want to help them in this regards, mental health wise. I want to share my personal stories because I'm one person who's big when it comes to storytelling. I just want to tell people my story and hear their stories as well, because I think I can actually get motivation to motivate other people as well. Because I'm on the quiet side of things. I'm an introvert. So the more I listen to other people's stories, just by keeping quiet and listening and not necessarily like saying stuff, that's how I thrive. So yeah, I wrote stuff down. I got busy. So I started looking for like organizations to volunteer for in Zimbabwe. Then I came across Girl Up Zimbabwe. I'm like, okay, let's do this. I reached out to them. They were like, yeah, this is what we do. I'm like, yeah, I need to do this. So in as much as I wanted to start my own foundation, I don't know what I was going to call it anyway. I just felt like I needed to learn the ropes first. So I wasn't going to just have my Dubai and friends or whatever. I just had to, step back and be like, okay, let me learn from those who are doing it already, which wasn't a bad thing at all, now that I see it. So yeah, that is what I did. I joined Girl Up Zimbabwe. So most of their programs are in Harare, the capital city. So I stay in Bulawayo. I was like, okay, so I feel like I'm becoming more of a keyboard warrior. Like I'm just contributing, online. Well done, guys. This is great. What? So I was like, you know what, maybe this is time for me to get out of my shell. I think it's time. Super uncomfortable, really. I've been in my shell for the longest time. So what I did, I approached our community leader, our Girl Up community leader in Zimbabwe. I was like, you know what? I want to be active, but I don't know how. Like, I cannot travel to Harare. It's super far, but I want to be part of this. This is great. So she said to me, you know what? You can start your club. What? Yo, in my head, I'm like, no, that means I'm going to be in the forefront. And I don't want all that. I don't want people looking at me. I don't want the attention, I'm still in a shell, right? So, and then she's like, no, you seem to be energetic. You seem to be excited about this thing. So I didn't really want to tell her then, what, this is something I'm not really, used to. This is not my vibe. I'm just used to being a follower, so to speak. So I was like, okay, cool. I don't know where I got it from, honestly. From like that time, when I think about that time to now, I'm just like, I don't know where that energy came from. But like, I think it's the passion I just have for helping the next person, which gave me the confidence, so to speak, to just jump for it. So I started the club. And from today, we've just been doing things. So yeah, each time I get such opportunities to tell my story, I just feel like someone else has to hear the story as well, so that they're motivated and they can also like get out of their shell like me and do these amazing, amazing things. And just one more thing, I just realized that I didn't have to do it all alone. I have an amazing team now. So it wasn't a matter of me being at the forefront, facing people, talking, and all of those difficult things, so to speak. So now I have people I work with in my team who are more out there. And it helps in such a way that if I have like the big, bright idea and I share it, to them it's easier to implement because, they're already out there, what to try. In as much as Nami, I have my own thing going on. So yeah, it's been a blessing altogether. Yeah.
That is such a great story. And I think that it's so great that you got connected with Girl Up and they just reach so many different communities and countries. And I think the connections that they're able to make between clubs is so important. So thank you for sharing that. I also think that Girl Up leaders are so passionate about lots of different issues, which I think is also really valuable when you're creating a community of activists. So I would love to know more about the issues that you're really passionate about and why you become so passionate about them over the years.
Okay, so for me, it's mental health. Yeah, mental health is at the forefront for me because back in varsity, like I said, I'm very passionate about sharing my personal experiences with the next person. So for me, it came from a place where I had to go for therapy when I was in varsity because of all these issues, growing up, you're trying to figure out yourself, you're in another country, you're just all over the place. At some point, you're depressed or you think you are, you don't understand what's going on. So for me, I just realized there was a time, sadly, where like we would hear stories about students taking their own lives because of the same issues I was facing. So I just thought to myself, I'm probably, well, not stronger than them, but I probably have maybe a higher tolerance of strength, so to speak. So I had to dig deeper. Like, where was that coming from? Like, what is it? So now that I look back, it was a thing where I think I was being prepared to share my experience with other people so that we have less and less of these cases. So bringing Girl Up into the mix, Girl Up provides that platform as well for people to speak up. So it's not a place where you're like, oh, my Girl Up girlies, this is what I'm going through. And they're like, ah, you understand? Like, what are you talking about? It's warm, it's full of love. You can interact with people without being judged and all of that. So I feel like Girl Up has also helped me in that regard because, yeah, with storytelling, I'm really, yeah. And it also helps the next person, I'm sure, because I also learn from other people and I was like, okay, it doesn't kill actually sharing a piece of you with the world, being vulnerable with the world, because it was really bad during my times. I was like, yo, those people are like going through the same things I'm going through, but I'm able to like wake up, try to go to class, go to therapy as well at the same time. Because also the stigma of knocking at that office, yeah, asking for help. And in my culture, if I have to say, it's yo, they're like, are you crazy now? Like, what's happening? People are still warming up to the idea of actually asking for help, getting help, and then, yeah, being a better person. So, yeah, that is it for me. Yeah.
That is such an inspiring story, and thank you so much for sharing that and just being so willing to share. I have one more question for you, and I think you're going to have a great answer. Lots of young people want to create change and want to make a difference, but they may not know how to get started with that work. What advice do you have for those people who may be listening?
Okay, so the advice I'd have for such people who literally do not know where to start, and someone who also did not know where to start, how to start, I'd like advise them to actually just write something down. If I'm to share what I wrote down myself, you guys would be like, what is this? What is this though? Just write something down. And for me, it was, I don't know, luck or a blessing altogether to have someone actually read what I've written down. So now I'd then advise people to actually share what they've written down, like with anyone. Just share with, okay, I have this idea. Can you just go through it? You know, you can get guidance from people who are doing it and killing it and all of that. And sometimes it doesn't help, like looking down at yourself. You can find that that same person is also like struggling or something. They're not really like 100% there. So just share the idea. Don't like, I don't know, I'm looking for the word. Don't just, put it away and be like, oh, what if it doesn't make sense? You never know. I didn't know my club would be doing amazing things. I didn't imagine it. I was just, just doing stuff, failing loudly like everyone else. And yeah, super excited.
I really enjoyed this conversation with Lubelli, and I think her stories about how she got started with her activism and how she got involved with Girl Up were really inspiring to hear. I loved her advice at the end of our conversation too. If you have any ideas swirling around in your head about how you could make change, or if you notice problems that you would like to solve, pull out a pen or pencil, grab a notebook, and get started, because change comes when you just write something down. Thank you so much for listening to this episode, and you can find Lubelli on Instagram and LinkedIn, and I included those links in the description of this episode. If you want to talk about anything I mentioned, please reach out to me by email at lily@bethechangepodcast.org or on Instagram at Be The Change Media Network. I am working on expanding Be The Change Media Network, which means bringing you more inspiring stories from amazing guests. If you enjoyed this episode, I would really appreciate it if you could leave the podcast a rating and a comment, because it will help these stories to reach, educate, and inspire more people. And I would love to hear your thoughts and feedback. Tune in for my next episode, but until then, be the change you wish to see in the world. Bye, guys.